My name's Mfikeyi Makayi. I'm the country manager for Barloworld Equipment Zambia Limited. Barloworld Equipment is the certified Caterpillar dealer in the country for all Caterpillar products. We supply the mining, construction and energy industries, which is with heavy equipment and also power solutions for all the sectors that drive the economy. The knowledge I had on NORTEC is as one of the top trade schools in the country. The tour was a big eye-opener. And it was more of an appreciation tour to see where the workforce that carry the intellectual capital of the work that we do in Zambia as Barloworld comes from. So it was quite eye-opening to go through all the departments, see the students in a learning setup, also see the interaction with the lecturers who are very passionate about what they do, but also the college is doing a lot to make sure that they're catching up in terms of technology and the needs, and also appreciating some of the creations the students have. I mean, we're able to see some of their projects where most times people think you needed someone from outside to do that. The skills are here. I think it's more of looking at driving the PR of the college that people outside the traditional mining industry should appreciate where NORTEC has come from and actually what it's capable of as well. The belief is wherever you have a presence, you have an impact on the community over there. These are countries that have different resources, and these resources need to be extracted. But more than the resources that we talk about, whether it's copper, gold, emeralds, in the Zambian case, people are a resource. And as you're developing the people outside the traditional working community, you're actually uplifting that economy as well. We export these people. We hear of our people who've been trained, whether through NORTEC, worked for Barloworld or wherever else, they get to go abroad and they carry the name of the country. So the industry cannot work without people. It doesn't matter what you do, even when we talk of technology and automation, people always remain fundamental to that. It's about just catching up the tech and the need for people and maybe the evolution of the nature of the skills that we'll need for tomorrow. So there is continuous need for engagement, I would say alignment, but I'll also take it back to policy making. The policymakers need to start harmonizing industry and education. So these two groups start speaking to each other. This visit tells me that we're not talking to each other well enough to see what we can do. And this program, which is the Zamita program, actually shows that there's a drive in that direction. Yes, definitely. I have not seen anything that's of a lesser standard, given what people may think the country has the ability to have. I think it's been capacitated enough to bring the level, the expectation and the output up to a certain level. So I think it's good stuff that I've seen. I think it's a two-way dialogue. So I think dialogue needs to continue, but there needs to be more forums to discuss this. This was more of I'll call it an impromptu visit because of my personal interest from my organization. But there needs to be more harmony between industry, and industry is big, so we need to start getting specific about the gaps in the industry. Whether it's technical gaps, whether it's, this school has so many different programs. So we need to get specific about the gaps. What are people feeling in industry? It's very easy to say there's no competence in Zambia, but we're not holding industry accountable to say where exactly is the gap so we address it. And we need to start pulling that out. So I'll go back to policy. Sometimes policy or the law forces industry to participate. And where there's a feeling that there's not enough participation, this is where lawmakers, the regulators need to step in. And we have the Engineering Institute of Zambia. Where are they in this conversation? There's one thing about creating a law, regulating it, and then enforcing it. Sometimes these laws are there, but where's the follow through to make sure it happens? But also before you make it a forced matter, have the engagement to say, guys, you've been operating in this country for this long. This is the output. This is what you've got from the different colleges and whatnot. There is more that we can do. And at the end of the day, they call it the triple bottom line. Every company wants to make profits, but you want people who are happy doing what they do. And you want to contribute to your community. You want sustainability. So when we're able to show that there's a triple bottom line, then you have all the stakeholders aligned. But we need people who are regulators to have a stronger voice so we are able to start complying as industry. I'll answer it in two fronts. So when we talk about gender inclusion, we have to be very careful that we're not causing gender exclusion. And this is with the men. We need to carry the country together. So Zambia is about 51, 52% women. But women in our use in governance roles or in parliament is about 19%. So there needs to be balance on both sides. So we need the support and buy-in of the men. Sometimes when we talk about gender inclusion, we are leaving the men out of the conversation. We need to be asking these men who might be fathers to daughters, who might have mothers, who might have sisters, to drive their encouragement and see the benefit that as a team, whether male or female, you're moving the whole nation together. So that's the first way to answer it. Secondly, the women who are marginalized, most times it's because it's coming from the home base. And this is why I'm saying we need to make sure that we're not excluding the men in these dialogues. Why is there marginalization of the women? Is it in the upbringing? Is it in the culture? What is the fear? When we don't allow women to do certain things, for me, there's an element of a fear at the bottom. We need to attack what the fear is. It could be on the female side, because sometimes it's us as females saying, no, the female can't do this. It's not always the men being against it. But I'll use what the former US president said, Obama, when he was in Kenya. It's like a soccer game, because we all watch sports for the most part. Imagine playing on the field and half the team cannot play. You're not going to win the game. So we need to understand what is the end game. We need to win. And winning means a performing economy, a productive workforce, and healthy people. You need both to play at, to use the different strengths they have, irrespective of the gender, to get where we're going. So for females, I mean, in our organization, we have a deliberate policy to employ females in roles where we need them. If we don't have that skill, and I'm talking about very scarce skills, yes, we will still encourage the men, but we don't exclude the men. We explain to them why we need to have a balance. And we also prove that there's improved output and increased productivity when a team is well balanced. You can imagine I'll use the male gender. If you're playing soccer, you can't have 11 Cristiano Ronaldos. It will never work. You need different players who are going to make that Cristiano Ronaldo do what he needs to do. And that's how I can answer that. So our CSI policy is aligned to Barloworld Limited. So obviously Barloworld has 5 divisions. I work for equipment, there's automotive, there's logistics, and there's our corporate office. So the Barloworld Limited CSI policy aligns to all the different groups. And they were deliberately linked to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, so we are all driving as corporate citizens into the same direction. So the critical ones, all of the 17 SDGs are important. The ones that were highlighted as a focus in recent years was education for all, access to clean energy, and also access to water. So some of the water projects, I'll work my way back to the education one. The water projects where we sank our boreholes there, we knew that most of the times the people going to collect water from different points in that Zamtan community was the girl child. So by creating different draw points, it was not just a tank, there were different draw points maybe closer to their homes. You are also cutting that distance of, okay, I'm now spending half a day going to look for water. When it comes to access to clean energy as well, if you look at a nation to be productive, you need to have power. And most times people need to study, and you have students maybe studying under a candle, whether you're maybe connected to the grid and there's not enough energy, there's load shedding. When we say access to clean energy, renewable energy, so people have solar options so they can be more productive, whether they need to study, whether they need to do certain things that require a computer to be connected, the energy is there. which all cascades to the fact that people should have access to education. When you say education for all, this is across the board. Usually people look at the African continent because this is where we have literacy issues. So starting from people right at the bottom, understanding what is the dropout rate? When do people stop school? Okay, when they get to secondary, what is the gap? Is it sponsorship? When they get to college, what else needs to happen beyond college? Even beyond college, people also, we graduate and then we sit and wait for work to come to us. How else are we creating opportunities without waiting for industry to provide a job for us? We are the industry, so we should be making the industry and the economy bigger by creating jobs innovatively. You look at the formal sector in Zambia, rather the taxable sector. Zambia is 17 million people, but people in formalized employment, informal is very, very big, is about 2 million people. Maybe I'm even being optimistic. But of those 2 million people, whatever taxes they pay is carrying an economy of 17 million people. So we need to grow the industry so we have more formalized employment, so there's enough money in the economy to grow and make sure people have access to education. So maybe it was the nature of my personality and how I was raised. I was raised to have no fear. There was no limitation. I was raised by a single mother on top of that. And my mother was one of the first 2 Zambian physiotherapists. She was trained in Germany. But I grew up with brothers, but my mother never restricted me. I could do whatever I want, for lack of a better term. I would dismantle fans and try fix them. I would play with VCR. There was nothing like, this is for boys. So I go back to the home. There was nothing wrong with a child doing that. You are allowing the child to have a mind to figure out what they want and to discover themselves. When we limit the mind from discovery and curiosity, we end up with that fear. And then yes, there are girls who go out to industry and it's intimidating. They don't feel like they have allies. And the encouragement that I always give is, be great at what you do. We have to work twice as hard to be recognized half the time. So you have to be excellent at what you do. I was in an industry that wasn't very kind to me, but I had a personality, and that comes to character development, believing in yourself, even when no one else believes in you. Even in your immediate circle of friends, have a circle of believers and not discouragers. It's all about positivity. Have positive people. If you're going to be, they say, if you're an average of your 5 friends, if all your 5 friends are complainants, you're going to just be a complainant. If all your 5 friends feel like they lose all the time, you're going to be part of that. So everyone should take ownership of what they're responsible for. We're all individuals, whether you come from a family of problems or even a family that had everything provided. We are individuals first, meaning chart your path, chart your destiny. And people will limit you psychologically. People limited me, but I am a civil engineer running a company that makes mechanical electrical products. I know nothing about torque converters, but I have an attitude that wants to learn and also wants to tap into the talent to make my organization achieve its goals. Yeah, I think, yes, you're driving in that direction, but I think we now need to recognize we're in the 4th industrial revolution, which is basically hinged on technology. And being in Zambia, we're reliant on things happening in the first world and some of these products that are coming out and they're imported into Zambia. So we know that a high percentage of our imports are capital goods. So machinery, equipment, trucks, even cars. And these cars are smart. They're coming smart ready. And because a car is smart ready, how we troubleshoot, say, an excavator is going to need an additional skill. It's not now your traditional HER. I'll give an example, we're looking for someone who's a digital technologist, who's able to read a machine, if it's switched on and it's in, say, Kawambwa, and before an artisan goes to repair it, we're monitoring what is happening on the machine in Kitwe or Lusaka. That way, we're increasing our efficiencies, we're increasing our turnaround time, and we're making sure the guy is getting to the root of the problem before he goes and comes. And this is all part of the 4th industrial revolution. We import these things, we have no control that they come with the smart boxes, and now the competition amongst our peers in industry is no longer iron versus iron. It's how smart is the machine? What else can it do beyond moving the soil? What else can it tell me? How does it make the operator work safely? We're looking at underground mines that are looking at remote loading, where the operator is on surface, to protect his life, and you're just using, almost like video games, he's under there. And this is going to change the nature of the workforce. And it's going to start at the colleges. If we're not aligned to the curriculums that are changing, and we would need to, a college like NORTEC, to look at maybe colleges in, I would say in Australia, or even in the US, how are they handling this type of trade? Because that's the trade skill of the future. And the fear that we do is, people are going to lose their jobs. The jobs are evolving, they're changing. And we don't control that because we are not manufacturers of these products. It's like cell phones. I'm very sure 20 years ago, it was a landline. Do you see landlines now? Look at bank tellers. You don't have as many bank tellers because now we've got online banking. Look at the digital camera. Look at the Discman. Look at the cassette. Everything's now on your phone. So these things are coming. We can resist and hold back because, yes, we want working people, but we need people with new skills. And that's what I think the college needs to look at. Fourth Industrial Revolution and the skills that need to accompany it to support the future.